When I'm watching the Pokémon World Championships, I'm not focusing on the potential matchups, the genius plays, or the flashy counterplays. I'm always dialed into the aesthetic choices each player made for their team. What title did that player choose for their Pokémon? How does that Pokémon get that title? Which Pokéball did they pick to capture it, and what does that tell us about where the Pokémon came from? A perfect example of this was Stephen Mott's Scyther that helped him win the Monterey Regionals back in September. This Scyther we can see was caught in a Safari Ball with the title of the 100 times Victorious. This tells us that this is a Generation 3 shiny Scyther from the Safari Zone in Fire Red, that at minimum went all the way up Mount Battle in order to obtain the Earth Ribbon before claiming a regional champion title, which is extremely cool. The Garganackle next to it is no slouch either, with the Beast Ball and Destiny Mark title of the Chosen One indicating that it was caught during someone's birthday. It's perhaps because of this extreme appreciation for Pokemon aesthetics that I love to build World Championship Pokemon for trainers who have been invited to the largest Pokemon tournament of the season, and collect every ribbon that those Pokemon can earn to help bedazzle the field a little further. So as I did last year with the World Championships in Honolulu, I've put together not one, not two, but 3 Ribbon Master Pokemon for top trainers that competed in the 2025 World Championships in Anaheim. The first Ribbon Master we'll be building is for a box of Timbits, pictured here on the right. She was the one who invited me out to the World Championships last year, and graciously offered me one of her spectator passes this year as well. With Regulation I focusing largely on powerful restricted Pokemon, it was no surprise that she asked me to Ribbon Master Groudon, a bulky sunsetter that has seen consistent usage throughout VGC history. Restarting my copy of Pokémon Ruby, we choose the name iFrog, which as I understand it is an acronym of the Pokémon in the original team that this Groudon's team was based on. Using RNG manipulation, we can also choose a thematic trainer ID as well, as the dead battery in my copy of Ruby makes the RNG very predictable. In a similar vein, because Ruby and Sapphire always start with the same seed when given a dead battery, once we power through to the Cave of Origin, we can know which frame will give us an encounter with Shiny Groudon, after a few tries intentionally starting the cutscene so that the encounter will start on that frame. As for our next aesthetic choice, while many Pokeballs aren't available to Groudon from Generation 3, Timbit decided on a Dive Ball, a fun subversion of Groudon's arid theme. As a restricted Pokemon, Groudon is one that I can Ribbon Master in relatively short order, but a large portion of its time will be spent here in Generation 3 mostly for 2 ribbons, the first of which is actually 40 split between Generations 3 and 4, and that's the Contest Memory Ribbon. Specifically, we're getting the gold version for winning all 20 Pokemon contests in Hoenn and all 20 Super contests in Sinnoh. Our first step towards this goal will be to maximize Groudon's contest stats, which I prefer to do with this recipe developed by Sadistic Mystic. This is my go-to as each player uses 6 berries each go-around, and so that cleanly sorts into 3 parties worth of trades with other Hoenn games for us to blend with. As for moveset, I decided to go with Bulk Up turn 1, followed by Sunny Day to set up a 9-heart Fire Blast or a 13-heart Overheat if we're unlikely to be jammed by an opponent later in the turn order. Bulk Up helps us prevent nervousness as well, which is the main threat to us winning the contest, especially in cuteness contests where opponents spam nervousness-inducing moves, and being stun-locked for an entire contest while an opponent does particularly well is the only way we can lose in the Master Rank. Once we reach the Master Rank contest, we also need to remember to head over to Lily Cove Museum and talk to its curator. Since this is a new save file, this unlocks the ability for artists to approach us after the Master Rank contests if we do particularly well, and by allowing them to hang a painting of Groudon in the museum, we can obtain the Artist Ribbon. The color of the Cool Contest painting here is actually determined by the Pokemon's PID, and by pure coincidence this Groudon's Cool painting has a PID that results in a shiny colored outline. Before we hop into obtaining our next ribbon, we actually have another Ribbon Master entering the fray, who can collect the Champion Ribbon alongside Groudon. Onox is a Brazilian former Pokemon judge and tournament organizer, with this being his first time competing at the World Championships. While he was deciding on a team, it came down to between 2 speedy Grass-type support Pokemon, Whimsicott or Jumpluff. Since Skiploom is a Shadow Pokemon, it's possible for it to have the National Ribbon, and so I went around to my various Pokemon Coliseum save files to see what IVs the Skiploom I caught had. As a supportive Pokemon that doesn't really use its attack stat, Jumpluff ideally has as low of an attack IV as possible, as certain niche cases like Confusion Self-Damage and Foul Play can deal more damage. Onox himself admitted this wasn't something that really needed to be optimized, but while I was checking my Coliseum save file, I happened to find the Skiploom I caught back in 2021 when I was completing the game for the first time. Not only did this Skiploom have a very useful timid nature and a perfect HP IV of 31, but it also had the optimal minimum attacking IV of 0, without me even attempting to get it that way 4 years ago. Seeing as this was basically the perfect Skiploom for the team, I used a Time Flute to instantly purify him and earn the National Ribbon, before trading him over to Hoenn to start earning more. Picking up where we left with Groudon at Evergrande City, we can earn the Champion Ribbon on both Ribbon Masters by bringing them through the Pokemon League, earning our second ribbon for Skiploom and 22nd ribbon for Groudon. This ribbon disparity would soon be balanced as we next have a set of ribbons that Groudon skips out on as a Pokemon banned from most battle facilities. Bringing Skiploom into the Battle Tower, we can earn the winning ribbon for beating 7 trainers in a row at and above 56 wins in the level 50 mode, and the victory ribbon for the same feat in level 100 mode. Skiploom is in no condition to fight, but allows us to safely pivot between Latios and Metagross, and sometimes the random AI fumbles so badly that Skiploom can take a KO by eating an explosion from the legendary Reggie Pokemon. Once we're free of the tower, the next step is to prepare Skiploom for his own gauntlet of contests. Whipping up another feast of powerful Pokeblocks, our moves are different in name but largely the same effects as Groudon's. Sunny Day is the same between the two, but rather than Bulk Up we run Swords Dance from the move tutor in Fire Red and Leaf Green, and instead of Fire Blast we have Solar Beam. With our staggering visual stats and stylish move combos, we make short work of the 20 contests, and once again collect an Artist Ribbon from winning our Master Rank contest in a landslide. With Skiploom and Groudon nearly complete, it's time for the biggest time sink of any individual ribbon, Mount Battle. I've tried to cut down the time it takes to climb from Battle 1 to 100, but unfortunately past a certain point, no matter who you use, it ends up taking roughly 3 hours. While we do lose a bit of time every battle watching the rainfall, the old reliable of 2 Kyogre is still able to single-handedly carry us all the way to the peak using Water Spout, Ice Beam, Thunder, and the occasional Ancient Power to take down Shedinja, which are peppered throughout the gauntlet. As a reward for our dutiful A-pressing, Skiploom and Groudon are awarded the Earth Ribbon, and are now ready to move on to Generation 4. Despite introducing the most ribbons of any generation, due to the existence of Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Generation 4 has surprisingly few ribbons that I prefer to get during our first visit to Sinnoh. Not to say that there's little to do here, as this is where we must do another 20 contests on each of our Ribbon Masters in order to get our shiny gold contest memory ribbons. Our previous generation's contest movesets will have to be updated, however, to meet the challenge of these new ones. In Generation 4 contests, the most you can consistently hope for is for each move you use to score 4 hearts every turn. To this end, we'll teach them both Protect, which gives us 4 hearts if used on a judge with no voltage stars. Natural Gift is another widely available TM from the exact same vendor in Veilstone Department Store, and will give us 4 hearts if we go last in a turn. For the opposite effect of gaining 4 hearts for going first, Groudon can keep Fire Blast, but Skiploom only has a handful of options that don't require 1 per save file TMs. I settled on spending 200,000 worth of coins in order to pick up Return from the Veilstone Game Corner, which has the benefit of being learned by almost every Pokemon even if the price tag is a little ridiculous. Finally, Groudon and Skiploom can keep Bulk Up and Swords Dance respectively, as the double score next turn effect can help us stall for a turn until the conditions are right for one of our other moves, and we'll still earn an average of 4 hearts by earning 8 total hearts between 2 turns. From there, the visual round is mostly decided by us having maximized our contest stats back in Generation 3 and having 20 props of each theme. As a quick general rundown, the accessories you get from winning each contest for the first time are very strong and created and colorful. Accessories found in Amity Square are very strong for themes like Natural and Solid, and all of the obscure themes like Intangible, Festive, and Gaudy can be handled by accessories obtained from the Veilstone Massage Lady once per day. With our contest memory ribbons complete, the only other ribbon Groudon needs that never makes a return appearance here in Generation 4 is the Legend Ribbon, which essentially acts as a Kanto and Johto champion ribbon in spirit if not in name. The Legend Ribbon actually exists in the code of the Sinnoh games but wasn't made available until Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, which is why you can still see it when traded back to Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Unfortunately, even after we triumph over Pokemon Trainer Red, Skiploom is not quite done with Battle Egg, as they still have 6 entries left to tick off of their Battle Memory Ribbon. And so our next stop is the largest and most difficult of the battle facilities, the Generation 4 Battle Tower. Starting off with the Pair and Double Ability Ribbon, these are both similarly light work if we know which team to bring. In this case, I use a team that Jay Sinho used in the top of the Smogon Battle Frontier leaderboards, consisting of Bronzong, Togetic, Machamp, and Slowbro, swapping Skiploom for Slowbro in order to obtain the ribbon. This team works by preying on the AI's desire to take KOs where it can, dangling a low-level Pokemon as bait before setting up Trick Room and demolishing their front line with Endeavor and Earthquake. For the Pair Ability Ribbon, we have to split this team up into 2 teams of 2, so I put Togetic and Machamp on one team and Bronzong and Skiploom on the other. By completing a streak of at least 50 battles, we can earn the Double and Pair Ability Ribbons regardless of the outcome of our last battle. Sadly, the next 3 Battle Tower ribbons we need aren't as easy to shortcut. The Ability and Great Ability Ribbon always require a battle with Tower Tycoon Palmer at Battle 21 and 49 respectively. So diving in with my usual team of Garchomp, Suicune, and Metagross, apart from one stumble at Battle 43 where a water-absorbed Curse Lapras managed to completely counter Garchomp and Suicune, we can bring Skiploom to the 3rd and 7th sets of each battle to obtain the 2 single-mode ribbons. Suicune with Substitute, Calm Mind, Rest, and Surf is actually able to completely solo Palmer, with even the most advanced of the Battle Tower AI struggling to understand how Thunder Wave and Hypnosis work in the face of Substitute. Speaking of Battle Tower AIs and struggling, our penultimate ribbon here in Generation 4 is the Multi-Ability Ribbon, where we must bring Skiploom to a battle at 50 wins or above with one of the stat specialist partner trainers as our teammate. Without being extremely picky about your fellow trainer's team, this ribbon can often feel like a 1v3 as your partner will happily skill swap away their Levitate on Gengar so it can be caught in Garchomp's Earthquake. Luckily, I had already built up a win streak within this mode, and so despite losing that streak, Skiploom was able to skip out on most of the grief of this ribbon. Our last ribbon in the tower is thankfully solved, and we can easily obtain the World Ability ribbon using the DNS trick to connect to Room 2 Rank 4 on the Pokemon Classic network, which Y Lambda and I have set up into a safe room for players to use the Gengar Frostlass team. This is a team developed by the Pokemon Ribbons Discord that I detailed in another video where we set up the safe room, which easily loses to itself when handled by the AI. Bringing Skiploom as our third, we can easily claim our 8th Battle Tower ribbon and finish out Generation 4 with a whopping 53 ribbons on Onox's Skiploom. Generation 5 having no ribbons doesn't mean it's irrelevant to our quest, as this is the origin generation of our third and final Worlds competitor, Volcarona. As a special attacker, this is another one that ideally has a 0 attack IV, and luckily for us there's a static encounter with Volcarona in the Relic Castle in all Unova games. Rather than starting the game and waiting for the right frame, here in Generation 5 we can control which seed we get by starting the game on a specific time on the DS clock, down to the second. Then, in order to advance the RNG to a specific state, we go into our party and listen to the dulcet sounds of Chatot, with recorded cries via the move Chatter. Every time we bring up a Chatot in our party, it plays the recording with a slight variation in pitch. By tracking the different variations, we can track where we are in the current seed, as well as advance the RNG in a very controlled manner. And after advancing sufficiently, closing out of the party we can encounter Volcarona for a guaranteed 0 attack shiny. At Timbit's request, we catch our Volcarona in a heal ball and add a third member to our roster of Ribbon Masters. Before we move our trio up through Pokemon Bank, we can make a quick pit stop at Pokestar Studios to grab the Movie Star status. Not for any ribbon related or even visible after leaving this generation purpose, but simply because it's neat. For Groudon, I do the film Red Fog of Terror 1, which requires us to survive to the end of the film without defeating our opponent. Our humanoid opponent can't take down the incarnation of the land, and we get the strange ending where our protagonist succumbs to the red fog. For Volcarona and Skiploom, I opted for easily one of the simplest strange endings, Bryson Man 1. To achieve this ending, all you have to do is fail to directly damage Bryson Man's Pawniard on turn 1, instantly ending the movie as Bryson Man is so disheartened by how much you suck that he gives up on crime altogether. Achieving a strange ending with all 3 Ribbon Masters, we get their unique entrance animation, and with our brief Hollywood career over, we can pack everyone up and ship out to the Kalos region. In Pokemon Y, there's only one ribbon that we need to grab, the Kalos Champion ribbon. I've said my thoughts on the Kalos Elite Four many times, but this is easily the weakest of all of the Elite Fours, having no rematch teams, no Megas, and very little in the way of type coverage. So Mega Latios is easily able to solo the entire league and earn the Kalos Champion ribbon for our 3 competitors. This is the only ribbon in X and Y that isn't available over in Hoenn, making it the only reason for our Ribbon Masters to visit Kalos, at least so far that is. Generation 6 only has a handful of unskippable ribbons, but it's also the easiest place to get some of the ribbons we skipped from Generations 3 and 4. As we connect to Omega Ruby with Pokemon Bank, we can send battle points we've accrued for storing Pokemon over to our game. This allows us to buy hundreds of vitamins from the Battle Mason, sell those vitamins to a Pokemart for huge profit, and then turn huge profit into 3 little ribbons on each of our Pokemon. With our bill for a single set of Gorgeous, Royal, and Gorgeous Royal ribbons running us 1,109,999, which is about 227 vitamins or approximately 454 BP. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are also the only games that have these ribbons and let you hold enough money for a whole set, so they're most convenient to earn here. Speaking of BP, while Groudon once again gets to bow out of earning the Skillful and Expert Battler ribbons as it's banned from participating in the Battle Mason, both Skiploom and Volcarona will need to defeat one of the Battle Chatelaines in both the regular and Super mode. For getting multiple Ribbon Masters in one go-around, I break out a team I've used a few times on this channel consisting of Meowstic, Terrakion, and Whimsicott. Meowstic uses its Prankster-boosted gravity to improve Terrakion's accuracy, while Whimsicott provides both speed control and a massive damage boost for Terrakion by using Beat Up on a 6 Pokemon team, quadrupling Terrakion's attack in a single turn and allowing us to one-hit KO nearly anything with a Rock Slide that can't miss thanks to gravity. My shiny unknown Ribbon Master Force was actually waiting here in Hoenn at 49 wins in a row purely because I was hoping to have more Ribbon Masters join in at Battle 50. So by crushing Chatelaine Dana's Pokemon not once but twice, we can earn the Skillful Battler Ribbon at 20 wins in the regular mode, and Expert Battler Ribbon at 50 wins in the Super mode. Now that we've proven his battle prowess, Volcarona is the only one of the three that must earn the set of 6 Contest Master Ribbons here in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Thankfully, maximizing our contest stats is trivial in these games, as there's no limit to how many Pokeblocks you can feed in Generation 6. As for contest strategy, I settled on using Calm Mind to gain Volcarona Condition Stars, then using Secret Power, which is learned by nearly every Pokemon we can cash in on those stars for an extra 3 hearts apiece. In truth, the moves you use in these contests matter very little, as apart from one exception, the opponents in these contests very rarely can close the gap between their contest stats and yours. Lysia is the one unfortunate outlier here, who not only has much higher stats, but also comes prepared with on-theme move combos that will absolutely launch her into first place unless you can copy her high-scoring turns. But thankfully, not only is she not able to appear until the player completes each Master Rank for the first time, but after she's been defeated once, she is no longer guaranteed to spawn and we can just soft reset until we get a set of contest opponents we know we can crush. From the Master Rank contest, Volcarona walks away with the Coolness Master, Beauty Master, Cuteness Master, Cleverness Master, Toughness Master, and Contest Star ribbons, as well as a fancy new entrance animation in battle. Continuing with ribbons that the whole group has need of, a blend of vitamins and horde battles will allow us to quickly max out Volcarona, Groudon, and Skiploom's effort values, using power items to get 20 EVs per battle. For speed EVs, we use Zigzagoon and Wingull from outside Petalburg Woods. For attack, we use Shuppet and Mount Pyre, and special attack EVs drop from Spinda Route 113. This is also where we begin letting our Ribbon Masters gain some levels, allowing Skiploom to finally evolve into Jumpluff. After they have the fully trained status, a quick Eon Flute trip to Slateport City earns the effort ribbon on our 3 Pokemon. The reason I prefer to get this ribbon here in Omega Ruby is that being a fully trained Pokemon at least once is a requirement to unlock the secret super training regimens. Training our Pokemon in our respective attacking stats as well as speed was almost entirely because these stats are best for dodging attacks from balloon bots, while dishing out as much damage as possible in return. Once we've defeated all 30 regimens within the target time across all 3 Pokemon, we achieve the Supremely Trained status, and can fly to Dewford to receive their training ribbons. Once again taking to the sky with Latios, we can fly all the way across Hoenn to reach Evergrande City once more, and challenge the Hoenn Elite Four for the second time in service of obtaining the Hoenn Champion ribbon, another of the few in this generation that doesn't make a return appearance. Speaking of reappearing ribbons, after the credits we'll fly back to Mauville City and speak with Ribbon Bell. As the most lenient giver of the 7 daily ribbons, we can reset the clock to each day of the week and earn the respective Alert, Shock, Downcast, Careless, Relax, Snooze, and Smile ribbon on our entire party, saving us tons of time compared to doing these ribbons in Generation 4, or even worse, Generation 8. Acquiring these ribbons also marks the end of our time in Generation 6, so once more into Pokemon Bank we can transfer over to Pokemon Ultra Sun. As we land in Alola, our first order of business is to start feeding some beans. Rainbow beans are extremely powerful for raising affection, and it only takes 2 of them and a few extra points to completely max it out, granting a number of powerful in-battle bonuses, but more importantly allowing us to take our trio over to Melee City's community center in order to obtain the Best Friends ribbon, and in a fraction of the time compared to generations before and after. Once more stepping into the ring of battle facility ribbons that Groudon can't earn, the Battle Royal Master ribbon in theory only takes a single battle. Granted, that battle is a 4-player free-for-all against some of the most bloodthirsty AI in any Pokemon game, but still. As far as I'm aware, no one has done a super in-depth analysis of the Battle Royal AI, but it basically boils down to, if they think they can deal a super effective hit, they'll try to, and if they have Protect available, they'll probably click it. When we enter Volcarona into the Battle Royal, we actually get a scripted encounter with the Masked Royal, who will appear every time the player wins 5 consecutive battles in a row here. Since I save at the front desk and reset if the battle starts poorly to save time, he is almost always our opponent every 6th time through this place. Volcarona manages to win on his first go-around in the Dome, and Jumpluff follows suit after only a couple attempts, earning their Battle Royal Master ribbon. As we hop into the Alola League, we'll use a Roto EXP points power in order to hopefully gain more levels as we take on the Elite Four. The Footprint ribbon giver here in Alola is the last chance for Volcarona to earn it, and requires him to reach at least level 65. 30 levels up from his Met level back in Generation 5. Groudon and Jumpluff can also earn this ribbon here by reaching level 75 and 60 respectively, but since the Footprint ribbon returns in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they aren't nearly as pressed about earning it before leaving Generation 7. After we earn our Alola Champion ribbons, while we manage to reach Jumpluff's target level, Volcarona still needs a little extra push in order to get the Footprint ribbon. Taking him to Pony Plains, we can start an SOS encounter with Wild Chansey and Blissey, giving Volcarona his last step up to level 65. Flying over to Hano Grand Resort, we can show the pair to the Footprint ribbon giver and gear up for our final challenge of the 3DS era. Heading over to the battle tree, we actually need to bring Groudon with us in the regular mode, as this is one of the few battle facilities that actually allows restricted Pokemon, and so we can breeze through the level 50 teams with our own level 100 Pokemon that we used to defeat the Elite Four. It's almost like a miniature Mount Battle, but with 20 battles to reach the top and each opponent having a fixed 4 Pokemon instead of ramping up in number as we climb higher. The Battle Tree Master Ribbon, however, is an entirely different beast, but just because we're set to match the opponent at level 50 doesn't mean we have to play fair. Harkening back to the Togetic Bronzong team we used in the Generation 4 Battle Tower, by dangling a level 1 Aron in front of our opponent we can get them to focus it down, allowing us to safely set up Trick Room with Aromatisse. With Aron outspeeding everything on the field under Trick Room, we can use Endeavor to set our opponents down to just 12 HP, before taking them out with a Dazzling Gleam. We opt for Berry Juice instead of the usual Shell Bell seen on cheesy strategies like this, as it lets us live a turn where we get hit twice without having to hit them back to regain our HP. And Berry Juice is exempt from the various berry-hating effects they've introduced over the years, like Unnerve, Incinerate, and Bug Bite. Staying wary of multi-hit moves, priority moves, and the occasional Hail Team that all threaten Aron, we can climb back up to Battle 50 where Battle Legend Blue awaits. And unless Blue uses a very specific combination of moves and Pokemon with his Arcanine to defeat Aron, we can easily sweep his team to earn our final Alolan ribbons on Jumpluff and Volcarona. The Switch era is unfortunately where our merry band will have to split up to earn ribbons in each of the games they have access to. First to pair off is Groudon and Volcarona, who will be visiting the scenic Galar region. Our first ribbon here is the Master Rank ribbon, highly simplified by the fact that no one uses the Galar ranked ladder anymore. Because of this, and because I reached Master Ball tier in the final season of Sword and Shield Ranked, all it takes is simply asking in the Pokemon Ribbons Discord to set up a battle with a fellow Master Rank player who will forfeit and give us our ribbon on the entire ranked team. Speaking of Master Ball tier, we can head to Galar's Battle Tower, another candidate for the most lenient format of all time for a battle facility. Doing 10 battles in the Master Ball tier tower, we can battle Leon, and using the power of Special Boy who costs $30, we can demolish him and his highly beatable Charizard. Also during our climb, we nearly got completely wiped by a Quick Claw Runerigus that kept activating Quick Claw on the first turn of Phantom Force to dodge damage, and then not activated on the second turn to stay out of sight. But with our Tower Master ribbons acquired, our last stop for this pair is the Galar Champion ribbon at Wyndon Stadium. Inviting Piers because he won't Dynamax and waste our time, Calyrex cleans up the championship with no issue, and closes out our Generation 8 ribbons on Volcarona. But before we leave for Paldea, we still have more ribbons to earn in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, this time pairing off Jumpluff and Groudon. First stopping by Heart Home City, we can go pick up the Contest Master ribbons that we skipped back in Omega Ruby. Since we maximized our contest stats all the way back in Gen 3, the only thing we need is a contest move. Groudon's signature move, Precipice Blades, is actually perfect for this purpose, as it has the ideal effect of +3 hearts and an additional +3 if the groove is positive. Jumpluff sadly does not get access to Precipice Blades and will have to settle for using the identical effect of Giga Impact, which we can buy the TM for from the ever-reliable Veilstone department store. Once we've cleared all 5 categories as Master Rank contests and earned our Contest Star ribbons, we can then gain access to the final Shining contest that awards us the Twinkling Star ribbon. Also, having leveled up 30 times over the course of their journey, Groudon can schedule an appointment with Dr. Footstep east of Pastoria in order to receive the Footprint ribbon. And closing out the Generation 4 ribbons that we skipped, Jumpluff and Groudon can tag along as we demolish the Sinnoh Elite Four, and claim the Sinnoh Champion ribbons for their accomplishment. The last Generation 8 ribbon that Jumpluff needs to get is the Tower Master ribbon, but this one is much different from the extremely lenient Galar Battle Tower. In order to get the ribbon here, we must face Palmer in the Master Class mode, which is unlocked by defeating him at Battle 49 in singles or doubles in the regular mode. Since we aren't allowed the overpowered privilege of using legendaries, we turn to our ever-reliable strategy of bait Pokemon with Endeavor in Trick Room. Our bait Pokemon this time around is Donphan, who gets access to the Sturdy ability and can be level 1 by transferring them over from Pokemon Go. Uniquely, Donphan gets access to the move Ice Shard, which is a priority move in a class of moves that Aron doesn't get access to. Rounding out our team are Hariyama and Torkoal, 2 powerful Trick Room sweepers that can come in if Aron or Dusknoir are defeated. We can actually stop our streak and swap out for other Pokemon as long as we do it before Battle 5, and so we can do the first 4 battles in Rank 10 of the Master Class using our 4 Pokemon, and then after Battle 4 we can take a break and swap in Jumpluff for Torkoal. Unfortunately, I made a lot of errors when going up, and if you lose a single battle in Master Class Rank 10, you're immediately demoted to rank 9, making this ribbon take much longer than the ideal 7 battles. Thankfully, after I got over my skill issues, we were able to defeat Barry and Palmer in Master Class rank 10, and receive the Tower Master ribbon on Jump Bluff. Last up, our 3 companions reconvene in the Paldea region, with only a few more ribbons and marks left to obtain. Using the power of the hidden treasure of Area Zero, Terrapagos, we make short work of the Academy Ace tournament and easily claim the Paldea Champion ribbon. As for our RNG-dependent marks, posting up by one of the festival stalls in Kitakami and activating my turbo controller to repeatedly buy cheap candy apples and shaved ice is all it takes to earn the Gourmand mark. The Item Finder mark takes a little more doing, having us scour the Paradise Barrens for items. Also, to give you an idea of the time frame here, I managed to find a shiny Riolu from the Worlds event outbreaks that I still had at this point. Even when Wattrel doesn't even appear in the video at all, this event somehow manages to haunt us all the same. Third up, and most infamous of our 3 RNG marks, our first goal is to make as many ham and butter sandwiches as we need in order to get our trio up to 200 friendship. Once they're friendly enough, and after looping a rubber band around my Pro Controller's joysticks, the partner mark is pretty much a matter of AFKing the game long enough to put in as many attempts at the 1 in 100 rate every 10,000 steps as we can. Thankfully, all 3 of our Ribbon Masters got their partner mark after only 1 night spent in the Olive Roll field, marking the end of Groudon and Volcarona's journeys and granting them the title of Ribbon Master. For our final ribbon, because Jumpluff is absent in Galar, it falls to us to actually earn his Master Rank ribbon here in Paldea. Thankfully, I had just got done getting into Master Rank for our previous Ribbon Masters video that I did for NAIC. Running back the same Overheat Miraidon team that I used in July, we can climb back up to Master Ball after a few battles in Great Ball 9 and Ultra Ball 10. I had actually tried to fast-track Skiploom's Ribbon Mastering all the way back in July in order to make it here in the last few days of the season. But I soon realized that it would take way too long in such a concentrated burst of ribboning that I was much better just climbing back up and not sacrificing physical well-being for a slightly easier time in Ranked. And with the final ribbon in place, our trio of World Championship competitor Ribbon Masters is complete. A huge shout out to Onox and Timbit for letting me do this for their Worlds teams, having done my small part to help decorate the highest level of Pokemon competition with the minutia that I believe perfectly encapsulates the most interesting aspects of this series. And these definitely aren't the last Ribbon Masters I have to show for my time at the 2025 World Championships, but theirs is a story for another time. Until then, I hope you enjoyed seeing these Ribbon Masters' journeys, and thanks for watching.